Okay, so hi everyone. So welcome to another episode here at Lean In. So together with me is my co-founder Frances.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, so today we have an interesting topic. It's called overcoming trauma and building resilience. So we chose this topic kasi we know na parang maraming matutulungan talaga
Yeah.
no at this
Uh-oh.
point in time. It's a topic na it's not readily no talked about with
Yeah.
family or even friends no.
Friends. Yeah.
And but we wanted to come out with this interview no with Charlene
Yeah.
because
Sure.
Charlene Lucas
Mm.
because it's something na baka from viewing the video you'll know if you have a family member or even friends who would like to seek help from her, or even yourself no if you'd like to seek
Yes.
help from her, she's readily available. So uh Francis, do you want to read our introduction or the
Introduction
profile? Sorry, the profile of
of
Charlene
Shirley.
Lucas, our
Okay.
guest. Yeah.
Yeah. Charlene Lucas is a clinical psychologist with a passion for helping people overcome trauma and live their best lives. With years of experience working in both clinical and educational settings, Charlene brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to her work. She's the author of several books and articles on mental health and is also a sought after speaker on topics related to trauma, resilience, self care. In addition to her private practice, Charlene is the founder and director of Trauma Informed Psychological Services, or TIPS Philippines. This is an organization that provides support and resources for people who have experienced trauma. Today, we're thrilled to have her with us to talk more about her work and her approach to helping people heal and recover from trauma.
Okay, so without further ado, let's call in
Yes.
Charlene Lucas. Hi Charlene, thank you for joining us today here at Lean in Manila. How are you?
I'm doing great. Ang medyo mainit lang.
Ay
Oh,
nako, totoo. Sobrang init.
Sobra.
it's
Lagi
so
nga
hot.
naka-open yung aircon namin dito. And nako, so much for yung Meralco bill namin. So,
Yeah, same.
oh my gosh, I love this topic for today, no? So we're gonna talk about overcoming trauma and building resilience. Maybe we'll start with what inspired you, Charlene, to become a psychologist. Now we know that you are, and then how did you get started in this kind of career?
What inspired me? Ever since college, I really want to be a psychologist because if I may share, my mom suffered from schizophrenia when I
Mm,
was very young, I think 2, 3 years old, when my mother and father got separated.
mm,
So I was trying to be close to my mom, but I just cannot understand why she cannot give the emotional need that I
yeah.
need. Okay. So that's inspired me to become a psychologist. But the problem is, of course, I need to earn money. I need to earn
Yes.
money. Okay. So although I'm still in the field of psychology, but it's more on industrial psychology in human resources. But there come a point in my life, 15 years in the human resources field, I rose to rank, and I don't see myself in what I do anymore. So
Mm,
I really had this calling. Why do I want to be a psychologist? But parang it keeps on calling me. I failed
mm,
twice in the board exam, right? Because of the stress that I have in my job. And from then on my third try, talagang binuhos ko talaga yung full effort ko. I quit the corporate world. And now I'm
mm.
already a licensed psychologist.
Yay, congratulations. Okay, in your article in Marketing in Asia entitled This is My Trauma Survival Guide, you discuss how you overcame a very challenging childhood, Charlene. Can you tell us a bit more about your experiences, like what you're comfortable with, and how these experiences have informed your work as a psychologist?
So, medyo malalim yung tanong, no? All right. So, I I published that article because I was encouraged by my mentor. Okay,
Mm,
first she was my therapist, and then she became my mentor. She's helping victims of abuse, suffering from trauma, all kinds of trauma. So I reached out to her. And she encouraged me to tell my story so that victims or survivors of sexual abuse,
Yes.
childhood neglect will
Mm,
have a voice.
yeah,
Kasi
yeah.
very few people come out in the open to tell their story.
Yes.
Okay? And even if they tell their story, they were, let's say, sabihin natin na they were victim blaming. They were
Mm,
even blamed. They
yeah.
were not given proper help. So my mentor encouraged me on that. So it really took courage for me to tell that story kasi hindi ko, yung parang ina-anticipate mo kung ano yung sasabihin ng mga tao.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But when I published my story, marketing in Asia, specifically yung grupo na yon and staff and people in LinkedIn, people in the field of psychology, my colleagues, they've given me their support.
Mm,
And
Nice.
although, yes, I lose some people along the way, right,
yes.
who cannot accept what had happened to me, but I would say that I have gained so many beautiful people
Mm,
who is also parang tinutulungan nila ako to reach out to more people who had suffered what I have suffered.
yeah.
Oh, that's so nice, no? Parang you used your own experiences really to help others as well. So, how do you approach working with clients naman who have experienced trauma? I know like each one has like probably a different experience and different levels of trauma. Are there like different kinds of methods that you use, and how do you parang ang hirap, 'di ba? Like going back to the experience. So how do you help these clients process and also
Yeah.
work through the traumatic experiences that they've undergone?
Okay, so medyo I won't give full details and
Yes,
scientific
no. Yes, yes,
term,
yes. No worries.
terms, no?
Uh-uh.
Okay, so how do I help? First,
Yeah.
I challenge the mind, or let's say, ang tawag namin is we attack the mind, making them
Yeah.
understand. Understand in a sense that what had happened to them, it's not their fault. Usually
Mm,
with survivors of sexual abuse, especially if they were abused when they were a child, I always say two things. First, it's not your fault. Okay. What do you know during that time? And second is you are not defined by your past.
yes.
Okay. So the more you hide it, the more you don't process it, the more it will haunt you. Kasi shame, I would
Yeah.
say shame prosper in secrecy. Okay.
Yes.
The more you
Mm.
don't say it, the more it will haunt you. But the more you tell it, the more you're gonna get over it. Ika nga.
Mm,
So yun yung una kong ginagawa for my clients is to psychoeducate them. Okay, what had happened to them. And then later on, yung sa proper trauma therapy na siya talaga, this is really more of processing the pain. The mind, the heart, the body. So yun siya. Iba-iba siyang technique. Depende sa kung ano yung pain niya na ipepresent nila.
I was wondering kasi like
Mm-mm.
because you were saying, Charlene, that you have patience, but how do they go to you?
Mm-mm.
Do you find them, or are they already in support groups? Tapos they find you. Kasi like we were saying, diba, it's hard for people to talk about this, and people
Yes.
usually try to forget it. So how do you find these people? Are they've already taken that step? Like,
Mm-mm.
I'm confronting this and I'm going to talk about it, or are they recommended to you by, let's say, other doctors or other support groups? How do how will people find you if they need help?
Actually, right now, marami na siyang avenue. First is I tell my story. And when I
Yeah.
tell my story, it hits people and then they contacted me. And
Mm,
also in my LinkedIn, in Facebook. So I really reach out to people and they find me. Meron din namang mga groups, they recommend me. Like yung last client ko, yung last week na client ko, she had found me in Tita Talks. Actually it's a group, and
yes,
then
yes.
somebody had recommended me on that. And meron
Mm,
din akong mga previous client ko who have we have had session. They also recommend me. So right now, hindi ko na alam kung saan sila lahat nanggagaling. Basta
Yeah.
alam ko, they are reaching out to me, they need help, so I help them.
So you think like it's a good idea to have these groups. Kasi di ba, like in Facebook, there are groups that come out like the Tita Talks. Obviously, the Tita Talks hindi naman talaga yun ang topic nila. But there are, we have now more access to social networks or social groups online where people can find each other and ask for help. And do you think this is a good idea that there are people who are actually helping each other, but without your, let's say, your expertise or your education?
To add to what
Like,
Francis said,
uh-oh.
syempre hindi naman lahat marunong talaga like how to deal or how to at least advise a
Yeah,
person when it comes to that. Yeah.
yeah. Kasi
Okay,
like,
so
yeah.
sorry, so it's like someone helping another without,
Mm-mm.
let's say, any intervention or any guide from a licensed psychologist or traumatologist. Tama po ba?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, support, having someone that will be there for you, who will understand you, listen to you is very important. But of course, people should also be aware of their limitation. Kasi a blind can never lead a blind. So
yeah.
even if you have worked with your trauma, kasi yung ginagawa ko kasi ngayon or ginagawa namin specifically, talagang pinag-aaralan namin. And I also had experienced client na because of the trauma that they had and we tried to open it, okay, sinugod ko siya talaga sa ER. Okay, because hindi niya kaya yung symptoms, yung manifestation. So even me, no, I'm well equipped on dealing with trauma and people who suffered from abuse. Meron pang mga ganun nangyayari. So kung ganun ang mangyari, and if you are not equipped on that, if you don't have the proper, let's say, space, okay, to handle it, paano na?
Yeah.
So we need to acknowledge our limitations on how are
Yeah.
we going to help those people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so you mentioned also pala in your article, Charlene, no, the importance of creating like safe space for yourself. Like, can you talk more about what this means? And also, how can someone who has experienced trauma create a safe space for himself or herself?
First is setting boundaries is very important.
Mm.
Okay? Ang safe space naman kasi, for example, if somebody confide to you or tell you yung trauma nila or yung abuse nila, okay, first, you have to be honest with yourself, kaya ko ba to? Okay?
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Because meron kami tinatawag na vicarious trauma. So if you are not prepared on listening to those kinds of story, then it's not to para bang dinidisregard mo yung tao, but just tell them, I don't have emotional, mental space for you right now. Or if you have that space, I'm just gonna listen, but I don't think I'm not the proper person that can help you. Okay? And second, if kung sa atin naman, okay? Kung sa atin naman, if yung pinagsasabihan natin hindi kaya, okay?
Mm.
Yung kung ano yung ikwento natin o kung ano yung sasabihin natin, then we have to respect other people's boundaries. And then if we are talking about safe space sa atin, first is setting boundaries to people who we think that is toxic to us.
Mm.
Okay?
Yes.
Whether it's emotionally or physically or verbally, kung tingin natin that this type of people or this people or person is not healthy for us, then we should set boundaries. Okay, setting boundaries doesn't mean ikakat mo na yung ties sa kanila. It really depends. You can choose the degree of your relationship sa kung sino man yung tao na kaharap mo. Okay, you can always choose. It's not because relative talagang kailangan you have to be all in. Okay, if they're not healthy for you, then it's all right for you to set some boundaries with them with respect. Okay, so for you to have that safe space for you.
Yeah, I
Mm.
love that. No, it's really about setting boundaries, and it doesn't mean that you don't love the person that
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you have that relationship with. No, it's about
Yes.
loving yourself also as well.
Yeah. I have a question, Shirley. Kasi like a lot of people struggle with coping with trauma or post-traumatic stress disorder or other mental health conditions. But the thing is, I think, what is your advice for people to recognize that they're actually going through trauma? Kasi a lot of us, for me kasi I also had, well, I wasn't super abused, but there was neglect, there was molestation there. But in my mind, I was just angry all the time. I think I was angry until I was 25, 27. Yung parang galit lang ako sa mundo. And then it was actually my husband who told me that, you have to process your childhood. You have to confront it. And I'm like, dude, I am fine there. So so people can't help themselves if they don't know that they're in trouble. So what is your advice to people who don't actually know, na they just think it's anger or inis lang sila sa mundo or galit or depressed lang sila, like they think there's just no happiness in the world? Do you think it's actually a sign of trauma, unresolved trauma? Like, how can people recognize that they have a problem?
Okay, first and foremost, Frances, I admire your courage for telling that. Okay, it's not easy. Thank you so much for that courage. Okay, now, how do we acknowledge if we need help? Okay, first
Yeah,
you have to be true to yourself. Kasi ang pinaka-damage kasi ng pain or trauma, kasi we throw trauma, no, kahit saan. Okay, ang trauma kasi,
yeah.
the way I describe it, okay, is according to Dr. Gabor Mate. He's a trauma expert. Okay, so we can have small pain, big pain, or small trauma, big trauma. Okay, iba pa yung PTSD. PTSD is really
Yeah.
ano na siya, no? It's a mental disorder na, okay, or a mental
Mm-mm.
health concern na talaga. Now, how do we acknowledge if we need help? First is, kamusta ba ang relasyon mo sa sarili mo?
Mm.
How do you see yourself? How do you accept yourself? If you think, let's say, para bang you cannot extend that love, that care, okay, that compassion to yourself, then maybe it's time for you to seek help. Kasi if we don't have good relationship to ourselves, we usually extend it to other people.
Mm.
Okay? And the greatest damage, actually, ng trauma is relationships. Okay? How we relate to people in general and how we relate to ourselves, because we disconnect to ourselves. Let's say, for example, when you were, let's say, abused when you were a child. For example, pinalaki ka na sabihin sa'yo na, mali yan, palo dito, palo doon.
Mm.
Okay? So, parang a child will think that there's something wrong with me, that I'm not lovable, that I'm not good
Mm.
enough.
Yeah.
Okay? So now we resort to things, okay, na it could be addiction, it could be we hurt other people, or
Mm.
we could also hurt ourselves.
Mm.
Okay? And that's usually the result. So kung andun ka na sa stage na yon, okay, kahit na sabihin natin small T lang, okay, small trauma, small pain, if you think you need help, then it's all right for you to seek it.
Mm.
Okay? Kasi the more you don't deal with it, the more it will compound at
Yeah.
magugulat ka na lang lahat sumasabog na sa'yo.
Yes.
Why my
Yes.
life is,
Yeah.
going,
Oo. That's true. Yeah. So yeah, ano talaga, yeah, it's knowing about yourself. In terms of like the other factors naman that contribute to someone's ability to heal and recover from trauma, you mentioned a lot about mga childhood experiences. Like, as parents, siguro I wanted to add, like, as parents, kasi I'm sure maraming parents nanonood, like, how do we handle that? How do we first, like, yeah, paano kaya, like, where do I begin? Like, if, like, checking kung if my child is traumatized by something. Next is, how do I handle it as a parent? And, yeah, yun yung two things probably. Kasi most of it nabanggit mo, it really is formed during those early formative years.
Okay, kagaya may kasabihan nga kami, no? Prevention is better than intervention. Okay?
Mm.
First is you have to teach your child, whether it's lalaki, babae, okay, anak, pag hinawakan ka dito, okay, you say no or
Yeah.
sabihin mo sa akin. If somebody did this to you, you say it to me. Okay? You really need to form not just only physical bond, but ang pinaka-important is the emotional bond to your kids. Okay? Like really have patience to know your kids, who they are, listen to them. Okay? Now, and then second is, of course, we cannot life-proof our kids. Okay?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gonna be hurt along the way. Same goes with us. We're gonna get hurt along the way. But
Mm-mm.
if your kid is open to you, okay, then there you will know, okay, there's something wrong with my kid. Especially kung meron ng shift ng behavior.
Yeah.
Okay? Shift
Mm-mm.
ng behavior from jolly kid, now biglang tumahimik na.
Mm-mm.
Right? And mostly, kapag sinasabi ng bata na ayoko na sa school, ayoko na yung ganito, okay, then you have to listen to it. It's not because your kid is tamad, okay, they might experience bullying. They
Yeah.
might be humiliated by their teachers. Okay, so you really need to listen to your kid,
Mm-mm.
right? For you to be able to guide them and para hindi siya yung talagang i-carry nila yon when they grow up.
Yeah.
Very good advice, Doc. Sige, I'm sure like a lot of parents will find this useful.
Well, me, I'm going to ask on the other side. What if you're the parent who had a traumatic childhood and now you're a parent and you're governed by fear and distrust? Kasi like me, hindi talaga ako pumapayag ng mga anak ko mag-overnight or mga ganon. Like, I'm so scared. So, because I feel like if I'm not there to take care of them, something bad will happen to them. So, kasi I grew up in the 80s, and in the 80s, hindi naman sa walang pakialam may mga magulang, pero they usually like, okay, sige, basta bumalik ka pag alas 6 na, ganyan. So, you can like, just go anywhere and everywhere, or they'll drop you off at your relative's house and they'll be gone for 2 weeks and you don't know where they are. And then they come back. Yung ganon, yung masyado silang trusting, I guess that would be the word. But so, ang effect tuloy is, you see parents who are helicopter parents or the hovering parents because they felt neglected. So how do we as parents now of our own kids not naman damage our own children by suffocating them?
Okay, first is you have to heal. Okay, you have to heal personally. It's not because it happened to you before, it will also happen to your kids. As what I've said, you cannot life-proof them.
Yeah.
Kasi kapag kinahon naman natin yung mga anak natin, okay, paano naman nila mahahanap ang sarili nila? How they will, let's say, learn from their mistakes, from their failures, and how do they manage life kung palagi silang nakakulong or nakakapon? Okay? So, yung parang nasa tama lang yung guidance. That's why I mentioned kanina, emotional connection is very important for a parent to a child. Okay? Because kapag nadapa ang anak natin at madadapa sila along the way, andyan ka. Right? Because mostly of my clients, meron nang nangyari sa kanilang hindi maganda. Okay? Hindi nila masabi sa mga magulang nila. Because one thing, ang nasa isip nila, I don't want to fail my parents. Or second is, baka pagalitan ako.
Yeah.
Alright? So now, it becomes more damaging sa bata dahil naging paulit-ulit yung nangyayari sa kanila. Instead of, unang beses pa lang, sabihin natin, your kid is a teenager. Alright? High school. Of course, hindi mo na yan hatid sundo. They will meet a lot of people, di ba? And now, along the way, somebody had harassed your kid. Okay? And usually, mentality is, there's something wrong with me. Alright? Victim blaming. So, if you don't have Yes, victim blaming.
Ano kasi
So
suot
if you,
mo? Anong ginagawa mo?
yes,
Yeah.
mo, okay, bakit ka sumama ka ganyan or something like that.
Oo.
Okay,
Mm.
very sabihin natin na gullible yung ganong age. Okay, they can be influenced by so many people. Okay, don't expect an adult mind on
In a
that
child.
age.
Yeah.
Okay, don't expect, never expect. Kaya nga may magulang eh. So now, if you have that good emotional connection to your kid, then the kid will tell the parents. And once nasabi sa mga magulang, of course with compassion and with empathy, you are like really understand and listen to your kid. Okay, then you can prevent further harm to them.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can do appropriate intervention para hindi na maulit-ulit yun sa anak natin. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the most important thing, emotional connection. Kasi masyado tayong busy eh.
Yes.
Okay.
It's true.
That's so
Masyado tayong
true.
busy.
Yeah.
Okay, nakakalimutan natin bigyan ng atensyon ng ating mga anak.
Yeah.
Oh,
Gusto ko yung
naiiyak
sinabi mo.
naman ako.
Gusto ko yung sinabi mo, Charlene, na parang you have to heal first before you can,
Yes.
before you can also help
Yes.
yung child mo, no? Yeah, so I think we're almost towards like the end, no? So in your case naman, Charlene, how do you prioritize like self-care in your own life? And what advice do you have for others who are struggling to take care of themselves? Because we're
Yes,
talking
yes.
about healing yourself first.
Okay, so how to take care of ourselves. Okay, by the way, no, meron lang akong i-add dun sa kaninang topic na
Yes,
pinag-usapan
sure.
natin. You can never get it perfect. Okay? There's no
Yes.
such thing as perfect parenting, and there's no such thing as perfect in life. Importante, if something had happened, the family, okay, will go through it, whatever it takes. The family will heal. Okay, so that's the most important thing. Okay, so
Yeah.
how to take care of ourselves? So for me personally, setting boundaries is very important. And I also tell to myself that I cannot save everyone.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have limitation. It's not my job to save all people around me. Okay, like really focusing on my energy on what is important to me and what is my priority. Okay, and second is, yes, there's a lot of people that will come to you. There's a lot of people that will, yung sabihin natin na, dadaan sa buhay mo. Okay? You are the CEO of your life. Okay? You can fire and you can hire people. Okay? You can fire and you can hire people. You can set boundaries. You can choose degrees, the degree of your relationship with them. Okay? Ang importante is you don't neglect yourself. Okay? And I always say to my clients, and every yes that you want to say no is a betrayal to yourself. Okay? I'm emphasizing this because we have the tendency to people please.
Especially as
Okay?
women.
Yes. And people pleasing is a trauma response.
Yes.
Okay? Especially when you were raised, no, na bawal humindi,
Yes.
all right?
Mm.
Na kailangan sumusunod ka lang. Okay?
Oo.
Now, pag nadala natin yon, we tend to please people around us. And it's not our job to prove ourselves to people.
Yeah.
Okay? It's our job to fulfill our purpose.
Mm. Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Okay. So my question is, because nga people have a hard time healing or starting healing because they're scared of the stigma of, like baka people nga will victim blame, or people will say, sus, para yun lang, diba? Yung ganyan. So what are some of the most common misconceptions people have about psychology or mental health? Like what prevents them from asking help or thinking that they have a problem
Okay, two things.
that you want to
Okay.
dismantle?
Dismantle. Okay, two things. Okay. First, on a personal perspective lang naman, no? As psychologists, we are not mind readers, ha?
Yes, okay.
Okay. We're not mind readers. Now, second is mental health, psychology, even psychiatry, no? They say na, pag lumapit ka dyan, baliw ka. Okay?
Yes. Oo.
Or mahina ka.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you,
mahina ka.
or yeah, yun yung palaging sinasabi. Or kulang ka lang sa dasal. Mga ganong statement, no? So, right now, actually, I have clients, even just a little of having decisions in their life, their work, okay, their family, how to move forward, they even consult me.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Mm.
Yes. It's not because that mahina sila or something. May kasabihan nga kami, a surgeon can never operate on his own body, so was in your own mind.
Mm.
Okay? So if you want someone who is unbiased, okay, who will see your let's say situation objectively,
Yeah.
then there's nothing wrong in seeking it's either a counselor or psychologist. Okay?
Mm-mm.
Meron pa ako mga
Yes.
clients, nakaka-20th session na sila and sinasabi nila sa akin, lifetime na to. Okay, sige. Masaya. Because life will happen. Life will
Correct.
happen. And
Mm-mm.
sometimes emotion can get the best of us. Okay? So if you don't have, sabihin natin na circles, friends na unbiased or who will understand you, then it's all right to seek a mental health
Professional.
professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the last question, Charlene, for people who are undergoing mental health problems or undergoing trauma or going through difficult times, so what's your piece of advice for that?
Okay. First is to believe in themselves. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Believe in themselves. Parang sounds cliche, no? But
Mm-mm.
why did I say that? Okay, remember what you're feeling right now, your emotions, okay? That intense sadness, anger, remember that is just your body response
Mm.
in the painful events in your life, okay? That is just your body. But remember that your spirit endures, that you can get over it, okay? First is really seeking proper help, okay? And then second is like be kind to yourself. When I say be kind to yourself, healing is not an overnight thing. Okay. And when you heal, you have to be determined. Okay. Now you want to get in that place of peace because it's not easy. All right. And I want you also to surround yourself with people that will understand you, will empower you. You cannot just para bang isalalay mo. Okay, sa iisang tao, let's say if your husband, no, your parents, okay, yung emotional support that you need. You need community, okay?
Mm.
You need community. So be patient to yourself, be kind to yourself, and it's all right if you make mistakes along the way. Okay, importante is you're always working towards to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Yun lang po.
Wow, thank you so
Wow.
much. Powerful words from Charlene.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Charlene, for guesting in our show. I hope that it really helps a lot of people. And yes, thank you and good luck, no? Good luck with all of the endeavors that you're doing.
Yes. This is a good this is good life's work.
Yeah. Thank
Thank you. Thank you so
you.
much.